Te reo ererangi o te mānia. This episode was produced in Otatahi by Plains Media, with support from New Zealand On Air.
Hey everyone, just to let you know, this podcast deals with grief and the loss of a child. So if this is not for you, feel free to skip it and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us for Being Real Parents with me, Anna, and my colleague and buddy,
Kate. We work in the parenting space.
And it's here where we'll talk about our worlds as parents, the good, the not so good, and the hilarious, and mix this with what we know about behaviour and psychology.
Kia ora everyone, welcome on in. Today is a bit of a special podcast for me because I've got one of my best buddies on who I've known for longer than I want to think about. Bronwyn's here with us and she is going to talk to us about her beautiful daughter Harriet, who was born and passed away in 2018. So that's 7 years ago, so she's going to share about her journey and what that grief process has been like for her and her family.
Yeah, so I have 4 children. 3 with me on earth and 1 in heaven.
Beautiful.
And my daughter Harriet was born in 2018, and she was with us for just 6 weeks. So when I was pregnant with Harriet, during that pregnancy I was offered an extra anatomy scan. We were considered high risk because our eldest daughter was born with half a heart. And so, that made us high risk. And I had an anatomy scan, but they gave us an extra one. And they noticed, the sonographer noticed fluid around Harriet's lungs. And we didn't know exactly at that point what that meant, but we were followed up. So I had to go to Christchurch for extra scans. So we live in Dunedin, and I had to travel to Christchurch for extra scans. And on the second visit to Christchurch, the people there in Christchurch were concerned about reduced fetal movements, and so I decided to have an emergency caesarean then.
That was a lot, eh? I remember that.
It
you
was
guys
a lot.
coming up and I was lucky I got to visit you guys, but in such horrible...
you were a lifesaver because we were suddenly stuck in Christchurch when we were planning to just fly back to Dunedin that afternoon. So Harriet was born at 34 weeks in Christchurch, and she was born unwell. She was they called her a floppy baby. So she was unwell, and the initial diagnosis, they thought it could have been Down syndrome. And then later, as time went on, they discovered she had Noonan syndrome, which is something that apparently a lot of people live with and don't even know they have.
Wow.
There's quite a range of symptoms to Noonan's syndrome, and unfortunately for Harriet, it wasn't minor for her. She had leaky lungs. She had, it was called pulmonary lymphangiectasia, I think. And we hoped that that hole in her lungs would just close up by itself, and it never did. She had chest drains in that just kept draining fluid, and she just could not breathe on her own. She was, had those chest drains in and was on a ventilator for her whole life, and then she passed away when she was 6 weeks old.
Take a breath, it's okay. And as well as managing beautiful Harriet's 6 weeks of life, you're not in your hometown. Your husband's travelling up and down when he can. You've got 3 other kids back in Dunedin, being looked after by family, and you were building a house. That ended up having
it was
stuff.
A lot.
There was so much going on, and your husband's trying to do some work between here and there. It's so much all at once, right? You kind of want the world to stop,
and
let you just be there with your baby. Can you kind of give me a bit of a summary of those initial days and weeks after Harriet died?
Yeah, they were very hard. It did just feel like the world had ended for me, and I was crushed and heartbroken. Um, I think as a parent, you're strong for your kids and you have hope. And I had hope for Harriet. I thought, yep, the doctors can fix this. My eldest daughter was born with half a heart, and doctors could operate on that. So doctors can fix this too. And then they didn't. And there was no more hope. There was just no hope, no light or life, no, felt like there was no point carrying on. And I guess I began just living on autopilot, just going through the motions, eating, sleeping, without any drive or any passion in life, just going through the motions. And I remember feeling extreme fatigue. I just wanted to sleep all the time.
Yeah, because grief's exhausting, right?
It is. Grief is exhausting, and I just wanted to sleep. I would just fall asleep in the middle of the day.
And because as well, like she died not too long before Christmas. And so you were coming into the summer holidays with all the other kids home from school and everyone sort of around all the time. Was that comforting or was that overwhelming, the fact that it's meant to be holiday time, Christmas?
Yeah. I remember Christmas just kind of came and went in a blur. Like when I say living on autopilot, you're not really thinking about it's holidays or it's Christmas. It's just you're just going through the motions.
Yeah.
It was probably hard. It was probably hard being holiday time without the normal routines of the other kids going to school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're listening to Being Real Parents on Plains Media, broadcasting on 96.9 FM, streaming live and available as a podcast on plains.org.nz.
Can you tell me about parenting 3 other kids when your 4th one is not with you, when you're in the depths of grief? How does that happen?
That was, my parenting was terrible parenting. It was so tough. I was just so tired and empty and sad that I didn't see the point of living and I didn't see the point of parenting. My kids really, looking back, got terrible treatment. I had no energy for parenting, and so I would get frustrated with the kids and just lose it with them and just yell at them. If you haven't got the energy to intentionally parent, then you're just reacting, I think, and yelling to enforce their obedience.
Yeah. Because you're doing what you can to survive. Because remember, you're doing what you can to survive.
Yes.
Because you're exhausted and you're in the depths of the horrible place to be.
Yeah.
And so you were parenting any way you could. What did their grief look like for their little sister?
Yeah, I really don't think that it hit them as hard as it hit me. You're the parent, so it really hits you. And at that point, they were younger than they are now, obviously. So our eldest would have been 10, 9 coming up 10. probably hit her the hardest. She was very quiet about it, though. She sort of stopped talking about Harriet
Mm.
and didn't use her name. Yeah, the kids were really looking forward to having a little sister.
Yeah.
And so that was hard. They couldn't share their toys with her or um, read her stories. They were looking forward to those things.
Yeah.
So
Just like you had planned what life was going to be like with 4 kids. They were
yes.
like, this is what life's going to be like with little sister
Yeah,
to hang out with.
yeah.
One of the other things I'm wondering about is between you and your husband, because that feeling of you're like, I'm just barely functioning, getting through the day, but there's how he's feeling as well. Like, how do you at all connect, communicate, function, like to kind of get through all that horribleness?
Yeah. Yeah, that was hard because we're both experiencing it. It's not like one of us is going through a hard time and we have the other to lift us up. That's what I felt like I needed. I needed my husband there to lift me up and support me, but he was also in need of help, and so it was tough. Yeah, we were both tired and sad and didn't have the energy to help each other. Yeah, and I did notice we did grieve differently as well. For me, I felt like I wanted to talk more about it, and he didn't seem to want to talk as much as me, and that was hard.
And were you able to find people to talk to?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's super important, finding people to connect with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of nicely leads us on to kind of like the next part of this conversation, which is around you're kind of 7 years on now since you had baby Harriet there to look at and touch. I kind of want to look at what are the things that you've learned now that you can look back and reflect. And we need to be clear. It's not that you don't feel sad or that you don't miss Harriet anymore. It's that it just looks different to how it did in those early weeks and days. What are some of the reflections that you have now looking back? What are the things that helped you in the early stages?
Yeah. Finding your people that we just talked about, finding people to talk to is definitely something that helped. So whether that is friends or friends of friends, or a counsellor, also support groups as well. So the funeral home here in Dunedin have a support group for a baby support group, baby loss support group.
Wow.
And I think it's important to find the people in your life who understand and can share your grief and will listen. So it's important to find, I've already said that, those people who will listen.
Can I ask,
and
that
understand?
Because obviously you and I know, over that time you and I were messaging quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I was doing my best to discuss with you where you were at and encourage you to do things like go for runs, because that's something that you like doing and you kind of took a step back from. That in terms of finding those people, did you know that at the time? Like, did you have a drive to go and find people, or was it really exhausting and hard work and actually I just want to get the kids to school and then stay in bed?
Yeah, it was hard work and exhausting. And I think that I just expected that those people who are close to me will understand that this is hard and will want to talk to me about it. And yet I found that even if people know you well, they actually seem to avoid bringing up
Yeah.
the topic.
Yep.
And yet then there'll be other people who you don't know so well that are willing to talk about the hard stuff with you, which is important because that's all I thought about in the first year, at least, after Harriet's death. It just consumed me,
Yeah.
the thoughts, there was lots of thinking going on in my head,
Yeah.
lots of trying to make sense of it all. And you need someone to talk to about that.
Yeah.
And and that would be some advice to other people, is to find your people to talk to. And I didn't initially.
Yeah.
So the baby loss support group that I mentioned, it took me a while to actually pluck up the energy and the courage to go to that.
Yeah.
And I found looking for a counsellor a little bit overwhelming. I didn't know how do you pick someone.
Yeah. Because
So
you're sharing something so vulnerable and so personal and so
Yes.
hard. You want them to be the right person that you're sharing it with.
yes, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So those were hard steps. But I was thinking the other day, Juliet, about Edna, thinking you gave me Edna. There was someone I didn't even know, but because she was a friend of a friend, yeah, she was helpful. It was good.
How lovely. So to explain that, that was a friend of mine who lived in Dunedin, and I really wanted Bron to get like some food. And I was like, how do I get her food? And I was like, my lovely friend Edna. I was like, can you make some food and drop it around to this address of someone you don't know, please? And she went, sure. And off she went, and you got to meet Edna. Like you're saying, like finding the people, right? The people who you can connect to and chat to.
Yeah.
Were there things that people did that were unhelpful or distressing?
Yeah. There were little unhelpful comments that people probably didn't mean them to be unhelpful, but when you're in the depths of grief, they feel unhelpful. Just comments. Like I had one comment from someone saying, "Oh, have you moved on now?"
Oh, wow.
No, you don't move on from something so big. And just little comments like that really hit you.
Yeah. They're waiting for the grief to be done. Like, have you finished this process?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're 7 years on. Do you feel done with the process?
No.
No. No. Grief is
No,
not
I'll never
done.
stop loving Harriet.
Yeah.
And so I'll never stop grieving Harriet.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Can you tell me how it looks different now? How does grief look now compared to that kind of first year?
Yeah, it does look different. And I just remember thinking at the beginning that there's no way this can ever get better. That's too big and too hard. You know, Harriet's dead and she'll never come back. This is never going to get better. And yet you want it to because it hurts so bad. You want to get relief from that pain. And it is better now that I looked back at old journals from 6 and 7 years back, and the emotions expressed in them were deep and sad, and I am in a better place now. So I definitely have more energy now, and I'm less tired, and I don't have brain fog anymore, which I did have. I just feel more normal, if you can use the word normal. I don't know who defines normal, but
Yeah.
and I'm living more intentionally now.
Oh, beautiful
Not just
words. Yeah.
not just being too tired to care about anything, but actually caring about my own life again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like we talked about the finding people to talk to and share Harriet with and how you're feeling was kind of part of those earlier stages across a couple of years. Is there anything else that's helped you move from that depths of grief and exhaustion to what grief feels like now? Is time just part of it as well? Like learning that you can live in this new way of living?
Yeah. Time, I think for me, time has been a good thing. Just, I feel like each year I'm feeling in a better space.
Yeah.
And I know time doesn't always heal everything.
Yeah.
You know, it is what you do with that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think, as well as finding people to talk to, I've really appreciated reading books about grief as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Books about grief or baby loss. And just learning what I can about grief and reading about other people's experiences.
Yeah.
And I guess that helps you know if what you're going through is normal or not when it feels so hard and so horrible.
Yeah.
And journaling has been good, just to write down how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
To process things.
That's such a good idea. That's like the other side of being able to talk to someone, isn't it? Is being able to write it down and externalize it all from your head.
Yeah.
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 Another question I had for you, as we kind of round off this, is how is Harriet still live within your family now? How do you guys remember Harriet?
We try to take flowers from the garden and take them to her grave. That's something that we do. And we try to talk about her, like what would she be doing now if she was this age?
Yeah.
So my son he finished primary school last year and has started intermediate this year. And so there's no one in our family at primary school now. But if Harriet was there, she would be at the same primary school that the other kids have gone to. And so we try to remember those things and just talk about where she would be now if she were still with us.
Yeah. I remember you telling me a story ages ago about how, like, say you'd buy, like, I don't know, hot cross buns and there's 6 in a pack, and then your kids would, like, argue over who gets Harriet's one.
Yeah.
In a pack. So she's always there. She's always with you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, she is. She's always in our hearts.
You're listening to Being Real Parents on Plains Media, broadcasting on 96.9 FM. Streaming live and available as a podcast on plains.org.nz.
Bron, thank you so much for this chat. It has been beautiful, and I feel so honoured that you've been willing to share it with us. I think of Harriet quite often as well, especially at the end of the year. So if anyone is in the depths of that grief and they need some support, SANS is one of the organisations that you can go to, or talk to your GP and see if you can get counselling through them and about where you're at. If they're not working for you, feel free to contact us at Real Parents, and we can support you to find your people like Bronwyn found hers.
Awesome. Thanks for being with us today.
We hope you've learned that while parenting is challenging sometimes, that's totally normal. It's been fun having you with us. Keep being amazing.